Reserve. The root of all our evil, it begins with the Federal Reserve. Hey, yeah, well, let's go back in time when everybody was so proud of a man.
I'm Tommy Salmons. This is Year Zero. Today, I have the great honor of chatting with Jake. Jake is a former Marine. He suffered from PTSD for years, and he began microdosing. He's a big proponent of the use of psilocybin for mental disorders and PTSD in particular. And I wanted to have him on and kind of discuss his experiences, what he found, and how it changed his life. So I hope y'all enjoy this episode. RyanBunting.com for all of your graphic design needs. Go to RyanBunting.com. Ryan Bunting is a great libertarian and a great anarcho-capitalist. He's also a great graphic designer. He designed my podcast logo and Pete Quinones' podcast logo for Free Man Beyond the Wall. So go to RyanBunting.com for all of your graphic design needs and check out his book, Project Manicore. You can get it there at RyanBunting.com. Thank you, Tom Burton, for the music. And don't forget, it's the Libertarian Institute Fall Fund Drive. So help support all your favorite podcasts and writers at the Libertarian Institute by donating what you can afford to give up, whether it's $2, $5, or $25,000. We'll take it because we got to keep our lights on and keep the bills paid. So go to the libertarianinstitute.org/donate and send us some money. All right, enjoy the show. All right, I'm here with Jake. What's going on, dude?
Oh, same old same, man. Just taking it easy on a Sunday.
Shit. Yeah, I've been drinking beer all day, so you got to forgive me, man. My wife just got back in town, so it was a beer drinking holiday today.
Oh, yeah.
So, but you, I was introduced to you by a friend of ours who's been on my show, Brian, and he told me that like you're really informed on the entire psilocybin movement and what psilocybin will do for people with mental illness and PTSD. I happen to know Michael Heiss. I don't know if you know the name, but he's the guy who got psilocybin legalized in Denver. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, so I happen to know him. And so I thought this was a really cool conversation to have and get involved in. So I want to kind of let you take it, and I'll ask questions as they come to mind. But I kind of want to let you kind of lead us into what led to people looking at psilocybin as treatment for PTSD and mental illness and these types of things. Where did that come from?
Well, in the past, it was illegal to study those substances, and recently, I don't have the stats on it, but at least 2017 or so, I was seeing a psychiatrist at the time for grief. My dad had passed away. He recommended that I go see about a medical clinical trial because they're dosing people with microdoses of LSD and psilocybin. That was due in part to the grief coupled with PTSD from my time in the Marine Corps. And at the time, I drove around all day for a living as a pest control guy, and I'd had LSD before, and driving around on that shit at work and stuff didn't seem like the most productive way to go about it. But I didn't understand the concept of microdosing and things like that. So I started to look into it, and I actually wound up kind of grabbing some some of the psilocybin mushrooms on the side. Somebody gifted them to me, and I didn't know much about microdosing and whatnot, but I just took a little bit every day for a little while, and man, it was life changing from the first day, and without tripping or anything. You know, not doing it as a party drug or anything like that.
Right.
It just changed my life. I was able to face the grief and face my own problems, and just a really cathartic thing. And it turns out now that like Yale and Johns Hopkins and all these reputable Ivy League pplaces and hospitals and whatnot, really smart neuroscience people. There's even a journal of psychotherapy, pharmacology. They're all doing studies on this stuff now, and they're coming up with really great stuff. Like, for instance, the like death anxiety that cancer patients face, PTSD, it's working wonders for that. As little as one dose can give lasting results for over a year for patients with PTSD. And they're talking about microdoses, less than a gram. In my personal experience, that's been the case. Anecdotally, you know, through friends and stuff that have tried microdosing, little capsules and stuff like that, they've described it as the difference being just night and day within the same day of taking the first capsule.
So I want to interrupt here because you've been through this, and I don't think people understand what it means to go through these types of things. I've had Matthew Ho on, and we've talked about PTSD and the situations that he's been through and how having like dogs has helped him and things of that nature. But can you give us a little glimpse as to what you were dealing with and what happened when you began microdosing?
Sure. Basically, within about a 9-month period, I'd lost my entire family. Like my mom, my wife and kids. That was a divorce, but my mom passed away through cancer. I'd been dealing with PTSD for years due to Marine Corps. So the way that it affected my life was basically shut the entire thing down. Sometimes a good day for me was getting up, putting my clothes on, and I used to consider going to the store or going to a restaurant or something to be like a major victory. I was pretty devastated with, you know, the depression, the post-stress, nightmares, the whole works. I couldn't really function as a human being. So I was strung out on all kinds of drugs and just trying to deal with it in all the wrong ways, I guess. Well, I know all the wrong ways.
Well, so the military itself had put you on these drugs?
Some of them, yeah, they treat with, you know, cocktails of shit like Valium and stuff like that.
Right.
Xanax, and that psychiatrist that I mentioned, I went to him with private insurance. He flat out told me after 30 years of drug research and stuff, he said, man, look, I can prescribe you pills until the day you die and treat your symptoms. But if you want to be cured, you need to go and get on one of these microdosing trials. And the guy was right. They're saying that it's literally like a cure. But
and what did you experience like when you started microdosing? Because and the reason I ask is because you and I have been talking in the background beyond this podcast, and a lot of people aren't familiar with that conversation. But I know that there's some part of you, like you're trusting in what you're experiencing. So I think it's worthy for people to understand like why somebody would like turn to the microdosing regime as opposed to the pharmaceutical regime.
Well, this is the way that I generally put it. The feeling that I got when I started doing that was it was exactly like having yourself reset to a time before you were hurt. Like whatever damage was done to you through, trauma and emotions, emotional distress and stuff like that. It just resets that to a time before that happened. I mean, it still happened. You don't forget or anything, but it gives you the mental and emotional capacity to deal with it, to face it and just move on. And almost like a not childlike wonder, but it returned me to a sense of well-being that I hadn't had since I was 20. And it had been a damn long time since I felt good about myself. Now I'm happy every day.
Right. Yeah. And, it's one of the things I have a hard time with, having conversations with veterans. And it's not because I don't feel for the veterans. It's because I think I feel too much for the veterans. I think there's, I have Matthew Ho on. I've had Typo on. I've had quite a few guys on, and we've talked about military service. We talked about how it affected us. I didn't go see action in a foreign country, but I know what they do to a person just throughout the training. And so whenever you actually do go see action, that's a completely different thing, that they've completely changed your personality. Have you been able to rediscover that innocence, that ability, that creativity, that ability to explore that was there prior to going overseas? I don't even know where you served at. Sorry.
I'm glad you asked it in that way, because it certainly has. Like a person could go through boot camp and never see any action at all, but you'll be programmed to have a positive response to things like, what makes the grass grow? Kill, kill, kill. Or, I mean, the answer yes is usually replaced with the word kill, and that changes you. And there's a whole process. I'm sure that everybody knows. You basically come out brainwashed, and you're a different person. The Marines tagline when I joined was actually "the change is forever," and I used to agree.
And you're like, no, damn it, I'm going to fucking fix this. Y'all fucked it up. Yeah.
Yeah, the change was forever. It felt like it was a fucking bad change, though. They didn't tell you what the change was. And,
right.
Since experimenting with the psilocybin and stuff, I've gone back to basically like my high school days, pre boot camp. Like I haven't forgotten my training or any of that stuff, but I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. I used to be a gunsmith, and I could give a shit less about guns and stuff now. Like I still have a passive professional interest in them, but I don't spend all night wondering if I'm going to have to use one. I don't carry one. I don't worry about any of those things. I try to stay smart about stuff. I carry a stick for beating snakes away from my dog with, but it's definitely put me back to a time before I thought that the right answer to stuff was fucking kill it. And my squad leader used to have a sign on his door. It said, "In absence of orders, find something and kill it." And that was a quote from Erwin Rommel, but this was in the United States Marine Corps. The parallels between the two groups are alarming at times. But I think that this substance has definitely done a good job of washing the taste of that shit out of my mouth.
Yeah,
and I'm glad to have it too.
Why? What do you think? What do you think it is that you've discovered that's kind of like, I hate the word revert, but it's kind of put you back in outside of that mindscape that they try to force you into? You've you've obviously discovered something. So what do you think it is that psilocybin has brought to your attention that you've been able to grab onto?
Well, physically, what it does is it helps to regrow your dopamine receptors, which, of course, I'd burned mine out with self-treatment and government treatment and whatnot. But emotionally, I was able just to kind of reconnect to a past before all of the bad stuff. I don't believe in like the concept of a bad trip. Now they call them challenging trips, and I've never had one. It's always been a good experience for me. So I kind of just latch on to, I don't know, I guess like, I remember friends and family and things like that. It's weird. It sort of, I used to experiment a little in high school and stuff with LSD. And if I take a mushroom trip at times, it'll kind of reconnect me to, like almost through space and time or whatnot to those times, and kind of let you get in your mind and walk around and tour your life, and you can go see the good shit that you enjoyed instead of worrying about the bad things that are like hanging over you all the time and whatnot.
Yeah. And where were you deployed at when you were in the Marines? I'm sorry.
Combat wise in Afghanistan and Iraq. Before that,
you were in both.
Yeah, and before that, Japan and stuff like that. I was an infantryman, obviously. So all I did day in and day out was fire guns.
11 Bravo is what I was whenever I was in. So
yeah, I was 311. So it's the same, basic rifleman, I guess. And
yeah. So when did you start noticing that you were having these negative effects on your personality?
That really took a long time because I so firmly believed in everything that we were doing. Like during the violence, you're just trying to protect the guys around you. You're not really trying to harm people and shit, but that's how you protect the guys around you. Right. It was actually probably 5 years after, maybe 4, that it really started to kind of just creep up, and nightmares and shit started, and started getting depression and things like that. I noticed that I was becoming a harder person earlier than that because I lost people. I lost a lot of friends, even from back home, people that I would call my brother, and I still do.
I became really angry at everything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You described it as a harder person, but I think I became much more bitter towards humanity.
Oh, yeah, man. I was outright hateful.
I was unwilling to tolerate even the slightest, like, I just realized within myself, like, being able to look back at it, it was one of those things where it would be like the slightest little thing would shoot me off the handle. It took me It took me about 10 years to get to where I wasn't in that position mentally. I mean, it was really
seems to be about the going rate.
Yeah, it was really difficult. And I never saw combat. If I would have seen combat, who knows how difficult it would have been for me to readjust to society.
It's trying at best. I think I've managed to kind of do it now. I don't have the same challenges that I used to when I deal with people. I used to want to.
You still have a hard time talking about it, though. I can tell.
Yeah, some of it's not worth mentioning, but
I'm not picking on you. I'm just,
No, I mean,
I've talked to a lot of veterans, and I can
important
tell
for
by
people.
the way you're approaching the subject that there are things that were really, really difficult for you to even still to this day address.
Yeah. Well, that's also because of new ways that I've learned to approach it. A while back, I guess 2015 or so, I tried a thing online. They were offering Amazon gift cards, like a $5 gift card, to do a little survey for this shit called Vets Prevail. And so I did a little survey, and they sent me $5, and they had the cognitive behavior therapy like online. I wasn't ready for that, but I tried it, and I quit. And then like a year later, I tried it again, and I'd forgotten that I'd ever tried it before. So I went through that for a long time. I finally became like a peer counselor at it, and I got some experience with helping other people deal with it, and that really helped me to do. But more than that, though, I guess I don't try to avoid the questions or the memories so much anymore, but I've learned through meditation and the psilocybin and stuff, like a combination of wellness things, to just make a little space in my life for that shit. Cause it doesn't go away, but you can make a little room for it and kind of carry it around with you and not let it weigh you down.
You certainly don't want it to run your life.
Right. And there is, it's important for me to mention too, that for any vets or people just suffering from anything, there is a way out of that shit. And like nothing can make it all go away, but you can learn to carry it around with you and forget about it. So I don't think about most of the negative stuff, but it's not like an avoidance thing. It's, like I said, just making space. You learn how to pack that shit up and carry it with you like you do anything else. You forget you're carrying your wallet till you need it. And it's kind of like that.
I want to ask a question that I've never asked anybody before, so I feel kind of hesitant asking it. So bear with me just a minute, because I want to make sure I ask it in a way that's appropriate, and I'm not saying anything that's over the top. Jordan Peterson had he had made a comment, because he's a psychiatrist, and he had made a comment that the majority of people that he's ever treated with PTSD, it was a result of what they had done, not what they had seen. It was the coming to fruition with your own ability for evil, and really recognizing your own ability for evil, and coming to face that part of yourself. How much of that do you think is reality?
I think the guy's spot on with that, because when I first had to really take a look in the mirror at myself and think about some of the things I've done, that's the moment that my life started to crumble. It started kind of slowly with other things, but once you really take a look at who you've become versus who you were,
yeah,
it all goes away pretty quick, and it's a very, very steep drop off.
So do you think?
In my own.
So you think he's right on when he says it's not so much what you've seen, but what you've done that matters in these circumstances, and the way you've reacted to the situations around you. I'm just asking. I honestly have no idea.
I think it certainly can be dead on in some cases, but not everybody that suffers PTSD has gone through combat or done something horrible.
Right.
Some people, take a stray gunshot, walk into their job or something.
Some of them. Some people were just on a movie set with Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, man.
That's a joke that my listeners will get that maybe you miss. But Alec Baldwin had a prop gun kill a woman the other day. So
yeah,
Mr. Gun Control himself.
So. Yeah, fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's that. So that was the joke.
Yeah, I mean, that to me, like it's a foreign concept. I would have lost my shit over that. It just somebody handed me a loaded gun would have fucking pissed me off.
Well, it was a prop. To be fair, they were filming a movie. It was a prop, and it was kind of like, remember when Brandon Lee got shot during the making of The Crow?
Yeah,
a fragment flew out of the gun unexpectedly. That's what happened. So, to be fair, that's what happened. We're just making fun of Alec Baldwin.
But, I mean, that's still an avoidable circumstance for the most part. I mean, we trained extensively with blank rounds in the Corps, and you know, the first thing you want to do is make sure you stay the fuck out of the way of the muzzle. And the second thing is don't point the muzzle at somebody's face or whatever, because the little pieces of brass from the crimped ends of those guns can fly off.
Right.
Nobody cleans those guns. They don't think about them as real guns. So that causes all kind of problems. But
well, let's get back into like the kind of seriousness of the situation, because this is kind of a serious podcast, and I'm not cracking as many jokes as I do normally during a podcast, because I do want to get into the meat of this subject. How long was it after you realized that there was a problem that you began your microdosing and taking psilocybin?
It was years, because I didn't have the information available to me to know that would be a good course. So I went the route that a lot of vets and a lot of people in general take, self-medicate in all the wrong ways. And so
lots of alcohol, I assume.
Yeah, things of that nature, and just self-destructive behaviors in general. Did a lot of dangerous shit, riding motorcycles too fast and hitting the white line doing 90 miles an hour. And
I still have moments. It's not that I'm hateful or angry, but there are moments where I can't experience enough adrenaline. It's like the more the better. And
I was like that for
like
a while.
you couldn't dose me with enough adrenaline to get me to slow down.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I don't know if that is a certain mindset. I don't know if that's a certain personality, or if that is something that was done to me. You know what I'm saying? I've never figured that out. I've never come to the conclusion whether, because I don't remember being like that prior to the military. I mean, I was wild. Like, don't get me wrong. I joined the military when I was 21, so I'd already had some like wild times behind me. But I don't remember ever having this unquenchable nature to me, to where I could do anything, and it wasn't enough. There was always a limit. I had to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I don't ever remember being like that before the military.
Yeah, I may have been a little. I was a lot more cautious, but in high school I rode bulls like a dumbass, and so I got a taste of the adrenaline.
Cautious, quote unquote.
Yeah,
riding bulls. That's cautious as fuck. Let me tell you.
It's cautious as it gets.
I guess if you're from Texas, that's cautious. I rode bulls.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever. I waited until high school before I rode them.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. That was my first little taste of adrenaline stuff, I guess. And I liked it, and I liked being a tough guy and having some swagger and stuff like that. I had the scores to go to the Navy as an E4 if I would sit on a submarine and do fucking sonar tech or something. and
They wanted
I
me
didn't want
to.
that.
They wanted me to be a nuke tech on a sub, and I was like,
And then I think they try to sell everybody there.
no.
This smart guy wants balls to glow forever.
No, just give me a gun and a parachute. I want to jump out of planes and shoot at people. Like, that's all I want.
I should have told these guys, man. They're like, what are you into? I was like, well, like hunting, fishing, hiking, shooting some more, and being outdoors and shit. And they're like, well, the sub will break the surface about once every 6 months. And I was like, fuck this. For one thing, the boat goes on top of the water. For the other, I'm not serving a 6 month fence. Fucking anyway, like, you want me to ride around in a fucking metal can underwater? What could go wrong with that? I don't have that much desire to feel adrenaline and shit.
Right. No, I was just curious. Did you notice an increase in your need for adrenaline though, or was it pretty much the same?
Oh man, it definitely increased, but it morphed a little. Like riding bulls and stuff like that wasn't enough anymore. I wanted to fight, and I wanted to fight harder and harder. Like our live fire stuff, that really got me going. There's nothing like having a bunch of damn live ammunition flying around you.
Right.
I got a taste for that,
Yeah.
even without combat, and I loved it. Just I don't know. We were doing some training one day out in the desert in 29 Palms, California, and fucking sit down and we're having a chow, and I'm looking at my gear and stuff. I've got a hole through the ass pack, the little bag on the back of your belt, from the machine gun who's shooting grazing fire too low over the top of us. And I was like, fuck yeah. I mean, I almost got hit by a 7.62 by 51, but
yeah, and my balls were almost gone, like
yeah. Shit. And I don't know, I liked it. I thought that was cool that I was that close to getting fucking turned inside out. But
yeah. That would have turned you inside out. That would have turned you all kinds of ways. I'm
surprised that I didn't catch the rest of that burst or whatever. These guys were almost really working on grazing fire. But
yeah, you didn't even feel the slight impact. No,
man, I didn't even know. And maybe if I'd been sitting still and calm or something and it happened, I would have. But if we were doing the hit and run stuff, come up, he sees me, I'm down, fire a couple of rounds, run a few feet, hit the round.
Yeah.
And I don't know when I took the round. I guess it had to have been on the way down because otherwise it would have hit me in the back or something. But yeah, it was a weird thing, man. It was my first little brush with taking a gunshot wound. I thought it was freaking great. It was like something I had up over the other guys. But yeah, having this conversation now, you realize what a stupid fucking thing that is to bad.
Yeah. Was it somebody else that brought to your attention how much you have changed, or did you just notice?
Well, I've changed a lot in a different ways over the last few years, but my significant other, Emily, she notices the changes and updates me on them.
Well, actually, I mean, originally, like when you got out of basic, you go overseas, you spend 13 months in Afghanistan, you come home. Is it like mom or dad or who is it that says something to you, or does everybody just kind of keep quiet?
Most people kind of keep quiet. My dad, though, he noticed, I guess, probably my first year in. And I joined in 97, so I was in for 4 years before anything happened. And he noticed that my sleep was bad because I'd crash out on the couch and stuff like that. And he described it as looking troubled. And at the time, I didn't have anything to be troubled about, but I already had that mindset that if I sleep too hard, somebody's going to fucking get me or whatever. And I'd wake up, every hour and go patrol the damn perimeter. And that was something that followed me for the next 20 years. And I still sleep through the night sometimes, but not all the nights, but it's not
it's rare.
It just doesn't keep me anymore. Yeah, it's more of a habit now than anything. I get up and go walk outside and look at stuff and check on the dog and whatnot. But,
just last night, I was sleepwalking, and I do this sometimes where I sleepwalk and I do something, and I got up out of the bed last night, and my wife woke me up as I was opening the sliding glass door at our bedroom. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like,
I don't know.
There was something outside. Like I don't know. Yeah, there's something outside. It's weird. I never saw combat, so it's strange to me the things that were done to my mind. Like it really is like, what kind of advanced capability do they have to do these things to a person's mind, right? Because I'm not even on edge anymore. I'm laid back as you get anymore. Like, my life is good. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, man. I'm loving life. Like, let's go. But I will still, every once in a while, I'll have a dream, and my wife will ask me the next day, like, what was that? She told me the other day, she's like, you were punching the dog. And I'm like, did he run away? And she goes, no, he just laid there. I was like, well, I must have not been punching him very hard. But at the same time, I have pit bulls, so that's like, they don't
they like it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, look, affection, but at the same time, it's like, why did I roll over in my sleep and start punching my fucking dog? Like, I don't know. I have no idea. So it makes me wonder, like, what was done to my brain, in the amount of time that I was in the military. What did they do to me to create scenarios like that? Because things like that didn't happen prior to me going to the military.
No, yeah, I mean.
So it's like, what was that? And I've been out now since 2003. So you're talking 18 years. Never saw combat, but I still wonder, like, is this something they put in me? Is this something they, like, brainwash me to think, or how to feel, or how to react to something? Like, what am I dealing with, emotionally and mentally that maybe I haven't completely come to fruition in? Baby, I'm gonna have to get the bag out of the car. You can get the rest of what's in there. Sorry, you can get the rest of what's in there, but I do have a full bag in the car. As soon as I'm done here, I'll get it. Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry, the dogs want food. The dogs want food, and the food container is in the office. So.
Yeah, I think it comes down to mental conditioning on that.
Go ahead, dude. It's all right.
The Marines aren't so shy about it. Like, they started from the moment you hit San Diego or Parris Island, I guess, if you go east. For me, it was San Diego, but they start beating shit in your head, and it almost mirrors the cognitive behavior therapy stuff, except for it's a lot more intense. And they, how it is to go through the training. It's just there nonstop. And ours is 13 weeks, so it's just constant fucking everything's left over right. And you start walking with your left foot, you walk 40 inches from people and shit. It just, some of it doesn't go away. I used to lose my fucking mind if somebody I was walking with would point at something, because to me that meant we were going to take sniper fire. And I mean, like, in a suburban neighborhood in Texas, I would think that you're going to draw sniper fire on me, knowing full fucking well that that's possible, but extremely unlikely.
Yeah. I mean, and we can laugh about it because, I mean, after it's all said and done, it's kind of absurd, but it's not funny. It's not funny what is done to a person.
No, it's not funny. I've learned to laugh at absurdity, but yeah. Well, you said in the Marines it was 13 weeks, and in the Army, being infantry,
I was 11 Bravo, so it was infantry, and it was 16 weeks, right? So it was 9 weeks basic, and then 7 weeks of AIT, but it was all connected, and you got a weekend off in between.
We got 10 days before infantry school.
Yeah, and it's, you just spend that time just absorbing all this information, right? And it's really affecting the way that you treat people. It's affecting the way that you interact with life. It's affecting the way that you interact with people. And there's no class in which they put you through to put you back in civilian life, which is a really difficult thing to deal with. And you were saying it took you a few years to find psilocybin and its positive effects on you. How long are we talking? Like 3-5 years? How long was that?
Well, I got out a couple of days after Christmas of 2006, and it was 2017 before I really found psilocybin.
So you were really struggling for a long time.
A year before that, I'd actually gone ahead and tried to 22 out. You know, I took some stuff that I knew would do me in, and then changed my mind at the last minute. I mean, it was Christmas Eve one night, man. And I don't want to trigger anybody, but trigger warning. You know, I took I don't handle opiates well, so I took most of a bottle of some methadone I got for the purpose of ending my shit, and I knew that I would be too bad off to turn back, but I wasn't, man. It was a frozen ass Texas night, and I kind of found me a little spot to go die in, and shallow grave in the frost, and I changed my mind, man, and I put a loaded pistol down my throat to drag the pills up, and I did, and I fucking lived. So Christmas Day, I decided, you know, when I woke up, it had been hours and hours, and the girl I'm with now, my fiance, she was there. She brought me Christmas dinner and stuff, and she was like, holy shit, you know, but so was I. And I was like, you know what, man, fuck it. I had so many bad like holidays and bad days in general, but I decided that day that it would be my first good Christmas instead of like my last bad one. And you know, holidays like that don't mean as much to me now as they once did. But you know, until tonight, I forget about the suicide attempt and stuff. It never really like comes up or anything. But
Right.
Thinking about it, you know, that was a rough damn night. I mean, that was really the pinnacle of I've got to do something to change. And that night, it wasn't about changing; it was just about stopping it. And the next day, I started trying to work on a way to fix it. So I really buckled down and started trying to research things and do things and find a way out of that hole, you know, and get out of the dark. And along the way, I tried to bring people with me, and that was rough when I was doing like the peer counseling stuff, because I would have to relive my own shit every time I dealt with somebody else's, but helping them out of it kind of reinforced the steps I needed to take. And that was only so effective, but it did really get me back on track. It wasn't until my dad died a few years later, I guess a year and a half later, that it fucking crushed me again. And I back on substances and stuff, trying to kill the pain and shit. But I knew a lot more about how to deal with things. That's why I finally went to go see a shrink, and he started me on the microdose journey. And of course, I didn't take his advice at first. I went sought out ways of doing it on my own. I didn't want to go through like a medical center or anything like that.
How dare a doctor tell you to take LSD?
I thought it was absurd. I mean, it wasn't a one-time thing. Really.
Is this a setup, you fucking asshole? Like, I know how military mind works.
It was the most absurd shit I'd ever heard in my life. Like, I believed that it would probably work, but I didn't understand how they could or anything.
Yeah.
But I kind of laughed it off as bullshit or whatever, like something I wasn't going to do. And I'd go see him once a month, and every month he'd be like, all right, man, I'm going to keep giving you the pills, antidepressants and anxiety stuff. But you're going to keep coming back and getting the pills, and you're never going to be cured. You're going to be like this for fucking.
You're never going to not need this.
Yeah, unless.
Unless exactly. Exactly. And how many years was that after your service?
Probably 9.
Yeah.
And,
so you basically you were being tortured night and day for 9 years.
Oh yeah.
And you met a wonderful woman that you finally made your fiance, but still isn't your wife. Which you and I got to talk about that, because she should be your wife at this point after all that shit. All the shit you put her through. You know?
Well, it took her a while to say yes. It's a very Johnny Cash story.
Oh, yeah?
I did the old Marry Me June thing for fucking years. And
you chase her around like a man in black.
Yeah. One day she finally said yes, man.
She's like, yes, quit asking me. Now, can we stay engaged until you leave me alone?
We're looking forward to doing like a hand fasting pagan kind of thing, and maybe trying to keep the government the fuck out of it.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks.
happy for you. Yeah, that's awesome. But so 9 years you went through this, and before you discovered psilocybin, and a doctor, he had been riding your ass. How long had he been telling you about the treatment?
He told me every month for about 6 months or so, and it was after probably the 5th or 6th time I got a hold of some mushrooms, and it had been 20 years since I'd had any. I'd only done them one time before, and so that's when I gave it a little try, and it worked. Somebody actually gave me a couple of tabs of LSD too, and I took them in little small increments, but shit worked. Doing it that way instead of trying to party with it or whatever. Take a little bit, and the night and day difference is a great analogy, because I kind of was able to just reconnect, man, and years of suffering and years of bullshit before that just kind of melted away. It didn't take really, it worked, it helped a lot, but then I stopped doing it, and some other stuff happened, and there were some triggered moments, and I went through some more shit, and eventually I came back around to dealing with it with the psilocybin, and man, my whole life is better. Like, I'm happy every day. I don't worry about the little shit. I don't worry about the past shit. It's a crazy feeling to talk about like all my traumas and stuff with you, and
it almost feels like another person, another lifetime ago.
It does, man. It's like it splits you, and just kind of like if you forked your pathway from when you were young and nothing had happened to you, and then you have this alternate fucking life where everything went wrong, and then over here on the other branch, everything's going right, and even if something doesn't go right, like the car breaks down or whatever, it's still better. It's something you can deal with without getting shitty drunk and punching holes and stuff and calling people names and shit.
Yeah. So when you're okay, so since the point where you did begin to believe in the process of psilocybin, it has not only changed your life in the metaphysical sense and moved you into a different mentality and psychology, but it's also changed your life in the way that you deal with others. And so talk a little bit about, like, we got about 15 minutes before we hit an hour. So talk a little bit about what it is that you're doing with psilocybin and how you're experimenting with it and how you're trying to help others with it, because that's really cool too.
Yeah. So just on the home front, she and I'll take a little tea and a low dose of potent stuff, and we'll hang out together. We noticed the first time we were up, for hours, and it's like, holy shit, man, look, we've been doing this all night and we haven't hurt each other's feelings yet. And and we haven't. I would say that just doing that between the two of us has made our relationship just cemented in this bond that you can't break. I don't want to hang around with people or anything. Like,
I find that whenever I do psilocybin, I'm more sensitive. Do you find that to be the case?
Yeah, I definitely have. I've become a more tolerant and caring person. That now the fights that I want to pick are the ones that make people's life better. I see somebody suffer at something, I'm like, hey man, look, don't worry about this stuff. And I run around telling everybody about the benefits of mushrooms, and everybody thinks I'm whack and stuff. But yeah, I find myself like not only defending like where there's a guy that gets picked on, and in the past I like to beat up bullies and shit, because then I got to be a bully but guilt free. And now
guilt-free bullying, that's the way of the future.
Yeah, man, it's hunting predators, and so you can justify those behaviors by kicking the shit out of somebody that needs it or whatever. But that's why I joined the Marines. But now it's much different. Now I'm like, hey man, look, that guy, he knows all of his flaws, and fucking getting in his face and pointing them out to him isn't going to help him at all. Why don't you fucking spend a little time and work with him and try to understand what he's going through? Because you may call this guy a name, and he'll go home and fucking kill himself because it was just that one last thing that he needed to push him to the edge or whatever. So I find myself really sensitive to people's actions against others and for others. Like I've even dialed it back, like social media and stuff. I'm almost non-existent on it because I don't care for the negativity. So I've got a Reddit account and I follow positive stuff, and like I won't turn my head from somebody that's in need or anything, but all of the mean shit I just kind of stay away from. I don't have anything to prove anymore with violence or any of that stuff, or nobody needs to know how tough I am or whatever. But I go for the simpler, like more friendly approach to things. Yeah. I grow stuff now. If I find like my little herb garden outside, flowers and shit, and I noticed my dad, when he hit his 40s, he started growing a garden, and I do that too, man. I find that nurturing something like a plant or my dog, or even my family, God forbid, you nurture the people around you. But that's really been a bigger deal to me. And it was something in the past that never occurred to me to do.
My dog is my family.
Man, I've got a big 100-pound fat lump of dog laying next to me right now. And
I got a 100-pound pit bull that I have to keep out of this room, or we would never have a conversation, because as soon as I opened my mouth, he would be all over me.
Yeah, mine's pretty much like that. He's an old dog though. He's 20 pounds overweight.
Well, he's only 2 years old, so if I let him in this room, like, you'd be like, "Are you listening to me?" I'd be like,
Yeah, I used to rescue pits, man. They're great dogs. They have so much personality and feeling. First pit bull I ever got, somebody had shot, and I knew what to do about gunshot wounds. So I got the bullet out of her, sewed her up, and gave her pain pills and stuff until we were friends. And my first thought when I saw her was, I need to shoot this fucking animal, because she looked like a beast. But I saw that somebody already had. I was like, holy shit, man. I felt bad about it.
Shooting this animal is not going to help the situation.
No, it was only I shot her, and it didn't work. So maybe I'll be friends with her. After that, she was the first of several pit bulls after that. this guy's not a pit. He's a cattle cur or blackmouth cur mixed with something. But
Blackmouth curs are great dogs, though. They're great dogs. When we get off when we stop recording, I'll call mine in here and let him come say hi, because he would love nothing more. But I'm not going to do it while I'm still on the podcast. But so I was recording out of my truck for a long time, and he was involved in every podcast. But he got to the point where when I came home and I started recording local, I just couldn't deal with him, because he would, in the truck, he would stop and he would lay in the seat next to me, and he would be cool while I was talking. But at the house, he never stops. He's all jump, 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 and there's no getting him to stop. So I have to close my door and be like, okay, you're going to have to be out there. I got to be in here because I got to take care of this, because I'm doing something at the moment. But what was the most, I don't even know the right word. What was it that you first felt change when you started taking psilocybin? What was the first thing in your mind that clicked and said, "Oh, this is different. Like, this is different than every other treatment I've had. This is different than everything I've ever experienced before. This is something I really need to latch onto and be part of."
So much of the focus of my podcast is to point out abuses of power and how bad things have gotten and the direction in which we're heading as a society. And it can be a real black pill. I've partnered up with Richard Grove to offer my listeners an opportunity to sign up to his Autonomy Course. The Autonomy Course is designed for people looking for solutions, people that want to shape their own future, people that are not willing to be at the behest of large corporations or the United States government or the banking system. The Autonomy Course is designed for those of you who wish to have complete control of the reins of your life, who are looking to be successful, to thrive and not just survive, to provide for your family by utilizing your existing skills and learning how to market and sell those skills in order to be your own boss, or learn new skills in order to leverage that into a new career opportunity. So if there's a job out there you've been trying to get or you've been wishing you could get, but you just don't have the skills for it, the Autonomy Course is the place for you to start, to learn how to land that position, to learn how to market yourself better, to gain confidence, and to be surrounded by a community of like-minded people that will encourage you and help you along the way. So use my affiliate links and go check out the Autonomy Course. It could be right for you.
Well, they have there's this term called ego death, and it a lot of times is what causes those challenging or bad trips for people. It's what forces you to take a look at what an asshole you are and then kill it. And the first positive thing.
I'm going to interrupt you just for a second. When you talk about ego death, when you're talking about these bad trips, is this kind of like I don't know? You ever read Carl Jung? Is this kind of like what Carl Jung meant by the shadow?
Yeah, very much, man. Like you meet yourself on uneven ground, and you don't have the advantage, and it's fucking rough, man. Depending on who you are inside, but fortunately, I'd already spent years trying to fight those demons back and stuff. So for me, is part of psilocybin being beneficial is part of that having faced the darkest parts of yourself already, and you need that light like extended on yourself through the substance. Like, how does that work? Kind of like that, man. Like Emily and me, we tripped together, and like I said, the first time we were just like, holy shit, a light bulb went off, and we were being nice to each other and having fun, and like kids, and that's where it went for me. That was my first positive change, was to really care about somebody else and look at what a dick I'd been about things, and even about bad stuff that had happened between us. And like, you know what? We're here right now, and none of that shit matters apparently, because we're having a good time. So let everything go. And we did. We let all the negative stuff in the past.
Is it religious? And
it can feel that way. Yeah, you could equate it to religion or spiritualism or something. It's definitely an awakening. Something inside you wakes up, like the old you, and you're like, hey, fuck, man. Like kind of waking up from a bad dream or something. Like what's been going on in my life? Some bullshit. This is not the way I would have done things. But I don't know. Some people talk to God. Some people meet aliens. Some people meet other gods that nobody's ever heard of. For me, it was different.
But I think. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Emily's with me. She was saying she talked to a star.
Sky.
Yeah, she fixated on a star and had an understanding with that. It's crazy when you go out into like nature on the stuff. We'll go for walks, and you can feel the trees talk to you in the breeze and stuff. And
yeah,
obviously they're not speaking words, but
there's communication.
Yeah.
And that's something I've always been like really intrigued with. Was I'm very much, which is part of the reason I moved out to the middle of nowhere. I'm very intrigued with nature and the communication between man and nature, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, is when you start going through this thing that you go through, is it like a form of repentance? And you're really like repenting and coming to terms with the evils that you're capable of, and understanding what it is that you were involved in, or is there something else there that maybe I'm missing?
You could equate it to a repentance, but I wouldn't compare it to the type like that you would see it like a Christian church where it's cheerful and all this shit. Like for us, it was a really positive thing. So it definitely was a reckoning of sorts and a repentance, but without any negative emotion to it. It was just a very positive, like rebirth almost. Just it's like the inner youth coming back out, and I feel 20 again, but without all the burdens and stuff I had when I was 20.
You look 20.
Thanks, man. I try to act 20.
You're a good-looking guy. Yeah. I quit drinking. I would shed all this, and I'd look as good as you do. Drinking and smoking like kicks my ass.
Man, I quit smoking a few months ago.
Oh, did you?
Still imbibe a little bud here and there, but mostly it was CBD until they recently canceled that. But I've got a full bar. My parents were alcoholics, and I've got a really impressive bar, like sitting right across from us. I take a drink once a month or something now, maybe, and most of that's just to kind of give the bar some exercise.
I haven't had a scotch in about a month. It's about that time.
I've got decanters with absinthe and fucking red eye.
Hey, what's better than a nice scotch and a cigar and sit out on the porch and just relax, right?
Man, very, very little is better than that, unless you're in good company too. And if you've got the right person with you, it trumps all of it. But a good fucking dog can do the same thing. But man, I'm not anti-alcohol or anything. I just quit using it to destroy my liver. I still like it, but I don't feel the need to like go get shitty drunk. Cause I wasn't a drinker. I was a binge drinker. If I started drinking, I wanted to drink to get drunk. And I eventually grew out of that. And, like psilocybin I don't know. They use it to treat addiction and stuff like that, and I can see how, because like I use these little nicotine pouches I'm addicted to, but got off cigarettes after forever, and I just started smoking to get off snuff, and so now I use like cut out the middleman and just go straight to the nicotine. But
right,
you know, like drugs, alcohol, and stuff like that, I don't even think about it. You know, it's just a thing of the past. I have to remember that I've got a bar.
Well, tell us.
It's mostly
tell us a little bit about what you're creating, the substances that you're working with and you're creating at this moment, because I know you're doing a little bit as far as creating. You're making some substances that are, I guess, would be microdosing in a way, but you're doing it a different way. So I kind of wanted to hear about that, because I'm not real familiar with what it is that you're doing.
Well, basically, you can cultivate these things from the source, and you don't really doctor them up in any kind of way. You just sort of nurture them into existence, and then you can dry them out, crush them up, and meter out like small amounts, microdose amounts, and put them in some capsules, and those have proven to be really beneficial to people. Also, some stuff called blue honey. It's basically.
I remember making that in high school.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for microdosing; it was just for fun.
Yeah. It works just the same. Also, tea. You can make chocolate. I haven't tried that yet. That's next on the list. But I see it for sale commercially and stuff. But I try to avoid commercial consumption of stuff like that. Yeah. Because it's either going to be a problem or it's going to be a bad fucking problem. Yeah. But my way, man, everything's just all natural. I don't do anything to make it better or worse or anything. I just kind of experiment around with different strains of things. And
are you working specifically with vets on this situation, or are you just working with whoever?
People, man, because one of the things I've learned is that you don't have to be a veteran to have post-stress, and you don't have to have post-stress to really need some help. You know, everybody's capable of feeling the same pain, and a veteran's post-stress is exactly the same physiologically as someone who's been in a bad car wreck or something and never had any service. So we all experience pain the same way, and we can all beat pain in the same way. Yeah. And people just don't know about it because it's been vilified and demonized by churches and governments and big pharma. And now big pharma is studying the shit out of it, trying to figure out a way to make a buck on it. But it's one of those things they'll never really be able to do, because you can duplicate one of these things from a single spore if you've got a little knowledge. And you don't even have to. I mean, if you've got 9 acres, somewhere on your 9 acres is growing a damn psilocybin cubensis, whether you want it to or not.
Oh, there's all kinds of mushrooms growing out here. I just don't know what the hell they are.
That's the thing, man. Like, I'm not really a great forager, but I got the field guides and stuff. Today I found some stuff they call hen of the woods, but I'm not ballsy enough to go try to eat it just yet. I want to consult the guide and the gurus and all that stuff. But it's supposed to taste just like fried chicken. Like you cut it up, fry it up, and it's supposed to be like chicken strips or something. But I'm content just to let it live where it is, because mycelium has got its own intelligence and its own immunity, and it's a living organism. You know, I try to work with it instead of just destroying it out of hand. Yeah. I mean,
out of carelessness. Yeah.
And it's not the only kind of mushroom that's got great benefits for people. There's lion's mane, does all kind of great stuff for your brain, repairs neurological damage and stuff like that. Helps people with Parkinson's. And there's mushrooms for high blood pressure.
I got my dumb ass got penis envy and lion's mane confused the other day. So
Well, it's hard to do if you see them side by side because
I'm sure it would be. It was just a picture of lion's mane, and I was like, oh yeah, that shit's supposed to be pretty good. And my wife's like, this isn't psilocybin. I'm like, yeah, it is. And then she's talking to my buddy that I told you about earlier, and he was like, no, it's not. And I'm like, yeah, that penis envy. And she was like, no, this is lion's mane. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm a fucking retard.
It takes a little while, man. There are thousands and thousands of mushrooms just locally. There's a block of mycelium 2 miles wide growing in fucking Wyoming somewhere underground. And somebody actually injected lion's mane into an oil spill one time, and it became its own little ecosystem. And
oh, wow.
Birds started living on it. Plant life grew. And when it was all said and done, you could actually eat the damn lion's mane because it had broken down the petroleum. And not that I would do it, but the shit became edible and, would give you nutrients instead of.
Oh, shit. That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's so much crazy shit that it does. You can have a mycelial network underground, and one tree can drop a little seed, becomes a sapling, and they can use the mycelium network as a conduit to communicate with each other, like a fucking Ethernet network. It's crazy as shit.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's a really big universe. It's untapped that very few people study in depth. I wish that I was like a scholarly mycologist, but I'm working on it slowly. I'd say I'm more of a hobbyist, but I've learned a lot though. Yeah, I mean, you go from the phase where you don't know which ones in the cow shit are the right ones and which ones will kill you.
Yeah.
To hey, this one lowers your blood pressure. This one makes you bigger. This one makes you smaller.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, let's stop the recording here and tell anybody, like, anything you need to tell them, where they can find you, like if you're writing somewhere, anything like that, because I think the information and the things we're talking about, there are people that are going to get like benefits out of it.
Well, I guess the number one place to find me, you could get on Reddit and look at u/witwith, WITWITH. I certainly won't engage in any commerce or anything, but I'm happy to answer any questions about anything related. Says that's where I draw the line at. No sales, no any of that kind of shit. I won't point you to a guy that sells drugs over behind the 7-Eleven. But if you want to know about the benefits and how all that stuff works, I'll happily go on about that shit for days or direct you to different resources and stuff.
Right. Well, I hope we do this again. I think that this as a beginning episode and kind of getting to know each other a little bit better is a good starting point. And maybe we can dig a little deeper into things as subjects pop into mind and discuss those offline, and then maybe make episodes out of them. Because these subjects are very interesting to a lot of people, and they're very useful and helpful to a lot of people. So,
man, it can not only save lives by preventing self-termination and stuff. It can really just change your life. It'll save the quality of your life, make everything better, even end of life quality.
Right.
The Swedes and even in America now, they've been experimenting with facing death from terminal illness, and it can really ease the passage in a positive way. And if I can help anybody.
I remember hearing that Huxley, I think it was Aldous Huxley, insisted that they give him psilocybin mushrooms while he was on his deathbed because it was going to make it easier for him to pass to the afterlife.
He was right too. Hunter S. Thompson went out on LSD, and it makes a big difference. And I can tell you just from having, I don't know, like the general paranoia you start to get when you get to our age, like you're gonna have a fucking heart attack from smoking too many cigarettes today. you start worrying about shit that you didn't used to worry about because
Right. Start
my body-
facing your morality.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna die one of these days. Like it's inevitable. Like it's coming. It's right there.
Yeah.
I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot closer these days than it was. I mean, and it's always potentially right around the corner, man. You never really know. But sometimes it kind of creeps in your mind and won't let go of that thought that it's right outside the door. And psilocybin just tells it to fuck off. Maybe it is right around the corner, but fucking there's something else.
There ain't no reason to be thinking about it because there ain't nothing you can do about it.
No, man, and it's not necessarily the fucking worst thing or the end thing or whatever. It's weird the reaction that it gives to you, but it can turn, I think, almost anything that's shitty into a positive thing, and not artificially. It just changes your understanding of it.
Right. Yeah.
It really helps you to deal with things. So, and that's way better, I think, than taking fucking Xanax till you can't remember your name. And like when you run out of Xanax, you still fucking feel like shit, and then you gotta go to the doctor. Still feel like shit after that.
Yeah, you go to the doctor and ask the doctor, "What the fuck's my name?"
Yeah, my name. Supposed to have like 90
how much money did I try to steal from people that trusted me? Like exactly what happened? Yeah.
Can you give me some more of those pills that made me a piece of shit?
Yeah,
It made
exactly.
me feel better, you know?
Yeah.
Fuck that, man. Like you can walk out in your yard and put a stop to that shit. Have a good time doing it. And for the people worried about being inebriated and stuff, when you microdose, you don't even feel the effect of a high or anything. You just feel fucking better. Like,
Right.
So like I know a lot of like hardline people don't want to take drugs or whatever, but mushrooms aren't drugs, man. And they pop out of the ground on their own and they do what they do. But some of them you can eat. Well, you can eat any mushroom you want. Some of them you only eat once. Like all mushrooms are aptly named. Lion's mane looks like lion's mane. Penis envy, guess what? But then they have shit called like destroying angel and fucking mushroom of motherfucking murder death, and like the ones that you're not supposed to eat have names that tell you you're not supposed to eat them.
Stay away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But anyway, man, good talk. I'm available whenever. So.
Oh, that's great, dude. And we'll definitely do it again. I'm gonna plug one more time your Reddit, and then I'm gonna stop the recording.
Right on. That's u/Witwith WITWITH on Reddit.
Cool. I'm gonna stop the recording right now.
If you're gonna play this game of pick and choose, well, it's a game that was made for you to lose. It doesn't really matter how many times, it's the same old worn out stories, same old lines. They're all pointing dirty fingers in hypocrisy, bragging on their feats of mediocrity again. Never really making any kind of change, but they keep on getting re-elected, and I find that strange. That's why I say fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never celebrate the tyrants that have taken our freedoms. Yeah, I said fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never celebrate the tyrants that have taken our freedoms. What's it gonna take for you to see that we're living in a rigged democracy? People stand in line for the views that they've been choosing, paying no attention to the rights they keep on losing. But they all gather in the rallies and they chant their names on goddamn well that it's all gonna be the same. Just 4 more years of war and taxes, 4 more years of them grinding down their axes. And that's why I say fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never celebrate the tyrants that have taken our freedoms. Yeah, fuck them, don't feed them, cause we don't even need them. I never